Okay, we're live.
Cool.
So, how do I do it? Share screen. Okay, here we go. Right? So, okay, so to make a TKR, we don't really, most people shouldn't be doing this on TKG 2.1.1, but you run this thing called the Linux resource container. There's instructions for that on our existing doc site, right? And then after you run the Linux resource container, you run our tool image builder, right? And image builder is it's kind of a set of bash commands basically, but you download image builder. We have other instructions on how to do that, right? And so, oh, you know my favorite thing we can do? I love doing this. Look at this. Look at this.
I didn't see anything.
Look at this. You can do banners. Look at this.
I, oh, yeah. That is
Look
cool.
at this. So, all right. So then you build the OVA, right? So you run this image builder command, you get the OVA. Then after you get the OVA, you you have to there's a version inside of the OVA, so you can unzip the OVA, right? And inside of the OVA, there's like a version string, and you need to send that version string as input to when you make TKRs because you need to line up all this information, right? Because when you ran image builder in here, you told it to make an OVA and to embed a particular name and version inside of it. And then later on, cap V, we have a thing called the TKR source controller. The TKR source controller is going to go, and when you try to make a new cluster, the TKR source controller is going to go and it's going to query vSphere and it's going to look at every single virtual machine in vSphere and it's going to find the one whose version matches what you give to the TKR later. So, anyways, going back to the picture here, I'll show you. So anyways, now you have a blob of YAML, and you get that by getting these artifacts off of projects.registry.vmware.com. Okay, and I'll show instructions on how to do that in this document in a second. But so once you get these raw files, okay, then you take the OVA version of the VM that you created, right? So you make the VM, you get its OVA version, and then you do this thing where you do image package. You use image package to get a folder of YAML, right? And then you get this whole folder of YAML, and you add this parent, and then you edit it so that it has this version in the YAML, and then you manually have created a TKR. And in the process of manually creating the TKR, you've now created a TKR, an OS image, and a cluster bootstrap object. You've created these three objects. And the details for how all these steps go are in here, right? But so you have these three objects. So at a very high level, does this make sense that you take some stuff and you do kubectl create and you make these three objects?
Right, makes sense.
I'll show you the details in a second. Yeah, okay. So then you get the OS image and the TKR, and you edit some labels and selector fields, and then once you've done that, you now create a cluster class, the cluster class YAML, and the cluster class YAML will have vSphere parameters in it, and it'll be hard coded to use some of these labels, like for example, labels that specifically select this TKR, right? So like these labels and selectors will specifically sort of like reference this TKR. We'll make this a matching color, right? And then, so now you're going to create that. And then now you're going to have a cluster that uses this TKR, and this TKR is using your OVA that you built over here, right?
Let's
So
just
that,
pause for a second. Do you create cluster class manually, or is it just, or does it happen behind the scenes when you
so,
run cluster create?
so I guess either way could work. When it comes to making your own TKR with a custom OS image, you don't need to really think much about making the cluster. That's kind of a separate step,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like this really, that's just showing you that this is really just showing you that like all this stuff over here eventually does result in something useful.
Oh, okay.
Right? Like, I think the whole process of how you make your cluster, a TKR is ultimately just input to your cluster creation process. And that's just a thing that is its own thing in TKG. So we already have documentation for that, and we can break that up easily, right?
So that is kind of like next step. It's not
But
really.
this is the part that's hard right now. So this has to be 100% correct. So you go and you pull this. This is the details. So you pull this file down, right? And after you
What's the name of the file?
You pull this projects registry TKR non-paravert whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
You pull this down, and it's going to give you a bunch of. It's going to be like 5 or 10 YAML files, and then you need to go into each one of these files and edit them according to this table here. Okay, so you go into this table, and you find the spec.version, and then you're going to change the spec.version to the name of what you want your TKR's version to be. Okay, but you're going to have a plus sign, right? So like you're going to do something like you're going to say like this is Kubernetes version 1.24.10, let's say, right? So you keep that the same, but you'll add your own name at the end, like VMware.1, and then this GPU might be the thing that this is the part that you customize. I'll make it pink, right?
Okay.
So like this is the part that you might customize here, right? Oh God, what did I do?
Transparent.
What did I do? There we go.
Okay.
So see this part, this is like the custom part, right? Your custom, and I'll make that pink so it's like, right? So then I'll make it pink in all of these. Okay, so then after that, you'll go to the metadata.name and you'll make that metadata.name the same thing except with minuses. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and then after that, you'll go and then you will make the metadata labels to match the name, this pink name, right? Okay, let's call our TKR. Okay. For this example, right? Okay. So then after that, then you're going to go to the OS images, okay? And you're going to call the OS image v1.24.9 with the dashes this, right? So this and this are the same. The metadata.name, right? The metadata.name, right? And the one and this are like the same. Right?
OS image. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So these are going to be the same. And then v124.9, and then it's going to be the same here, right? And then this is going to be the same, right? So you're going to have the same thing in here. Then you're going to change the cluster bootstrap template so that when your cluster bootstraps, it uses this image by default too, right? And then in your OS image, and then there's an OS image, and the OS image is the Kubernetes reflection of this OS that you built, of the
object, like Kubernetes object associated with that feedback artifact. Okay.
Exactly. And so that gives us a way to say, like, put some separation between the underlying logic of what cluster API does, or I'm sorry, what Tanzu does to select the VMs, to select the image. Because what happens with the OS image is the OS image, now you can have all sorts of metadata in your OS image. You can add labels to it. You can say this is a version of Ubuntu, this is a Fedora image, this is whatever. And then there's these fields, OS name and OS arc and OS distro and stuff like that. And so the end user can now use those high level things like OS name and OS distro to select which OS image object gets used. But the OS image object under the hood, right, is going to wind up using, under the hood is going to be mapped in a very, very like unambiguous way to this field. This is the most important field, right? So this field here, right? Yeah, this is the most important. So this gets set in the OS image. And so then there's a thing called the TKR source controller. And the TKR source controller, when you go off and you make a cluster later on, the TKR source controller is going to say, let me find an OS image that has the same OS name that you wanted. So you wanted Ubuntu, let me find an OS image object that has Ubuntu. And you wanted AMD 64, let me find one that's AMD 64. And then once it finds that OS image object, it's going to read it, and it's going to go look for this version field, okay? And this version field, wait for it, this is the big secret part that takes forever to understand. It took us like 3 days to figure this out. It's this version field maps over to
version
right here, right? Right, that and like that. Can I edit the image? I want to edit it, but it won't let me. Like, it's this version, right? That is the thing that has to line up here, okay? So, and the only way you're going to know that is by looking in the OVA itself. So this is not Kubernetes. This is like vSphere, right? So you'd have to open up your vSphere and you'd have to look at the thing. And that value came from when you ran Image Builder earlier on. Because one of the files, when you run Image Builder, one of the things in here, like, tells it to name your OS a certain way, right? Or tells you to embed that version string, okay? So you've got to get these steps exactly right. And so this table sort of takes what that Confluence page that you showed me, it takes it and it sort of breaks it down step by step as far as exactly what you need to do, right?
I see, but they're like
so these are the files that you get. Ultimately, these are what the files look like.
Can we take a look at the like exact link again? I think in that Confluence page, there was a reference something like bundle something like
bundle.
I think so, some package bundle or something like that.
Yeah, that's the image package bundle stuff here. See?
But in the command itself, but the URL that you're pulling from, the exact URL,
oh yeah, put it in the comments here. Put the thing that it says in that page in the comments so we can look at it.
Okay. Let me try and find it. Where's my window?
But that document, I wasn't able to use that document. So I can't guarantee that I'll be able to even really tell you what that was. But then you go and you make your cluster class. But once you find it, we can.
My eyes logged out of everything. 1 second. What happened here? No. Okay, 1 second. Where's the chat? How do I use the chat? Move. Jay, where's the chat? How do I find it? Where is it?
Oh,
I'm in Slack chat.
well, any chat. I'm in both.
Okay.
We can do it in here. We can do it in Slack.
And there's the quote from Confluence. The TKR bundle image.
Yeah.
What is that?
It. I'll add it to this document.
What's the location of that bundle?
Yeah, this right here. That's it.
So after like TKG.
Yeah. Pull exactly that thing that I'm showing you.
Okay, so this is the correct name. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So
and if it was a different Kubernetes version, it would be just.
Well, you'll know, because if you pull this down and you don't see these files, then you did something wrong.
Okay.
Right. So you pull it down and you're going to unzip it. Then you're going to see these files, and then you edit these files. And then after you edit these files, the files should look something like this. So I think if you add this, you could add like this to here. Then at that point you will have had a TKR. And once you have a TKR, you can proceed with making your Kubernetes cluster according to the other documentation we have about how to make a cluster using a TKR, right? That's just a Tanzu cluster create dash TKR equals whatever, right?
All right. Can you share this doc with me, or recording, or doc, or both?
I don't know where that doc is. I just know that anything that we document about how to
No. I mean the one that we are looking at right now.
Oh, I don't know where that one is. Let me see. Conference. Oh, this document. You mean the one I'm looking at?
Yeah.
This one is here. Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Let's see if I can access it.
I mean, but this is like super hard, and we don't really. The one thing is, now I'll stop the stream because I think okay.